Alright guys, so today we're finally checking out Sony's latest noise cancelling headphones. Today we're going to be checking out the Sony WH-1000XM5s. Now the XM5s come in priced at $399, which right off the bat makes them $50 more expensive than the XM4s. Now I originally thought this was kind of a move that Bose did when they released the 700s, but to be honest, the 700s are a completely different headphone than the QC35 series that Bose still releases. So at least Bose went a different path and just released a different headphone, where Sony is really battling the fact that it's just a newer version of the XM4s, but now it's priced much higher. So we're gonna talk about all of the features that this headphone has. We're gonna talk about what comes inside the box, talk about the sound, and see if it's worth the $50 difference. Now to start with, I'm gonna go ahead and say I think it's always going to be a battle between Sony and Bose as far as who's the best when it comes to noise canceling, but I still think no matter what, this is just gonna come down to personal preference. This pair does have Sony's own V1 integrated chip, which they started using, I believe, in the WF-1000XM4s, which is the true wireless earbuds. It's one of those that allows these to upscale your normal audio. It also reduces distortion if you listen to these at louder volume, and it's just Sony's way of being able to control a lot of the different audio processing within itself. And also technology-wise, these are using Bluetooth 5.2. It does support LDAC playback, so if you do have a phone or a device that has LDAC, you can take advantage of that, which I am with the Poco phone that I am using. And obviously it works with Sony's app, which I think, again, is still one of the best apps out there. With the app, you're gonna make sure that your headphones are always updated. It also allows you to be able to take advantage of that 360 audio that Sony has. You have different EQ options. You can even go in and EQ them yourself. It also has an auto noise canceling adjustment where it will just adjust based around the environment that you're in. This pair does have multi-device pairing, so you can be paired to more than one device at a time. And this is convenient because you can be on your tablet watching a movie and then switch over and take a call without having to go into settings and just jump through a lot of different hoops to make that happen. Now, another feature that these have is the one-tap Spotify feature. This way you could just tap a certain way and it will just open up Spotify and then just start randomly playing your music. And this is nice. It's not a feature that I would use, but if you're somebody that doesn't want to open your phone, you just want to throw your headphones on and then just start listening to music, this is pretty convenient. And then the only other feature is it also allows you some control over the auto on and auto off feature. Now it does have the sensor where it will pause when you take them off and it'll resume when you put them back in, but it also will shut off if you're not listening to music for a while, and this is just to save battery life. Now moving back to talking about the noise canceling and the transparency mode that these have, obviously I'm gonna go ahead and say this, the noise canceling is excellent. In fact, I think it's on par with the XM4s. I don't notice that it is noticeably better than the XM4s, but I think we're at a point where I don't know how much better it can get, because I think the Bose QC35 series has incredible noise canceling, although I do have a problem with Bose having that suction type feeling. I do not experience that with the Sonys, but I still get incredible noise canceling. And same thing with the AirPods Max. I think they also have very good noise canceling. But where I think the headphones are starting to catch up is the transparency mode. And Sony has caught up here, where I think the transparency is the biggest step as far as something that's going to be hugely noticeable, because the transparency mode sounds very natural. You're not hearing digital noise, you're not hearing static and things like that. So you can easily hear your surroundings. You can definitely carry on a conversation without taking your headphones off. And another feature I did forget to mention is in the app, you can turn on the speak to chat feature. And that way, if you start talking, the headphones will recognize that you're talking and then just go ahead and go into that transparency mode and then just make it where you can carry on a conversation. It will turn your music where you're not gonna hear it as loudly as you're listening. Now let's go ahead and talk about the design that these have. Now, this is a complete redesign because since the XM lineup has even come out, the 1, 2s, 3s, and 4s pretty much have all looked the same. Now, the XM5s have just gone in a different direction altogether, and I will say that it did borrow some design cues from the AirPods Max, more so in the arm right underneath the headband. It just has a more clean look to them. But with saying that, one thing that they did take away is these do not fold inward. Now, I don't like this move because I think it takes away some of the portability of the headphones. Now, it does come with a hard carrying case. In fact, it's a really nice carrying case that's pretty flat because the headphones do lay flat, but because they don't fold inward, it again makes it where you always have to use them laid flat, and it's just going to take up a little bit more space. Now, with also saying that, because these don't fold inward, I think that adds to the durability of these, because I feel like these are very durable headphones. I was able to pull them out, stretch them, twist them, turn them, and I never felt like they were going to break. They had no kind of creaking because it's not really made of plastic right there in the headband. I also feel like there's just enough padding in the headband where they can keep the design very minimal and very small, but give you just enough padding where you're not feeling pressure at the top of your head. And just like the other headphones in the XM lineup, I feel like the ear cushions are extremely soft. They definitely feel like they're just forming or kind of melting to the side of your head. It's just a very comfortable headphone overall. Now, as far as any kind of controls and inputs and things like that, on the left-hand side is where your power button is located. It's also where your noise canceling and ambient mode button is located. The 3.5mm input is located on the left side. And then on the right-hand side is where your USB-C input is located. But that is also where your touch controls and your swipe gestures are located. So this is where you can control your tracks, control the volume, play and pause. All of that is right there with the touch controls. And I will say the touch controls are very sensitive. Now, this has a plus and a minus to it because it means I never had an issue getting it to work. It simply just worked every time as soon as I touched them. But it also means that it doesn't take much to touch them. So if you're gonna adjust your headphones, you are accidentally going to get it to do something you don't mean for it to do, unless you're just grabbing on the outside, which is how I recommend adjusting your headphones. Now, as far as anything that comes inside the box other than the hard case, it does come with a 3.5mm cable. The charging cable does come with a USB-C cable. And speaking of the charging, the battery life I think is very good, especially considering how good the noise canceling is, because on a single charge, you're going to get about 30 hours. Now, this is going to differ depending on your noise canceling being on and listening to these at a high volume, but the fact that it can get up to 30 hours means you don't have to really worry about charging these very often. But if you do forget to charge them, this pair also has a very impressive fast charge feature where a 3-minute charge will get you 3 hours of use. I think that is pretty incredible because I am one of those that I don't always make sure that my headphones are charged. So it's nice to know that I can get that much battery life out of a quick 3-minute charge. Now, for you guys that do like to use your headphones for phone calls, they are using 4 beamforming mics, and I have noticed that I think there is a pretty significant step forward when it comes to mic quality with these. Even in noisy environments, because they're beamforming mics, you can tell that it's trying to block a lot of that out. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here.
So here is the mic test using the XM5s. And again, I think there's definitely an improvement on this over the XM4s. I think my voice comes through extremely cleanly, and I don't think anybody on the other end of the line is going to have any complaints. And so now here is a mic test with the crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. And so this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public.
So now let's talk about the sound, because this is also an area where I have noticed a difference between these and the XM4s, because I always felt like the XM4s had a nice warm sound to it, and that's because it does have plenty of presence when it comes to the low end, where I feel like the XM5s decided to tighten up the bass a little bit, just taming it a little bit more. The bass definitely, in my opinion, feels more controlled on the XM5s than it does the XM4s. And what that's doing is it's allowing these to be a brighter, cleaner, and less warm of a headphone. These don't sound as warm as the XM4s. I think the treble definitely is tuned up quite a bit more because it just sounds slightly brighter. And I also think that they made the mids kind of take 2 steps forward. It just sounds like the vocalist is a little bit closer on these than it does with the XM4s. So this is gonna come down to personal preference, and again, you can go into the app and just EQ these however you want, but I feel like you're still going to get more bass out of the XM4s, but I think you're going to get a better overall refined sound in the XM5s. Now when it comes to the soundstage and the sound imaging, I do feel like the XM5s is a little bit more open than the XM4s, and that just simply could be because they're taming the bass down a little bit, and it just allows these to have a little bit more space. So they made me feel like I was in a very large room, and then being able to tell where different sounds were coming from was absolutely no problem in the XM5s. So to wrap the video up, my overall opinion is Sony took an already great headphone and made it better, especially if you're somebody that just wanted a cleaner sound. But I don't really like the idea of jumping up the price, especially $50, because the XM4s go on sale for quite a bit. They're usually around $329, and I've even seen them about $279 to $299. So that already makes it a $100 to $120 difference. And I think at that big of a price gap, the XM5s is going to be a harder sale. Now, just like with saying the XM4s go on sale, I know that the XM5s are going to go on sale quite a bit, and I could see them being around $350 to maybe $329, especially because the Bose 700s will go on sale at around $329. So I can see Sony doing that to compete with that. And I think once they go on sale at $330 to $350, that makes them an immediate high recommendation. I just think at the $400 price tag, they're pricing themselves out of the QC35 and the XM4, and maybe they're trying to compete more with the Bose 700s, which just in my personal opinion, I do like these more than the Bose 700s, and I really wasn't a huge fan of the 700s anyway. So it's all gonna come down to personal preference. I do think the $400 price tag is slightly high. I think they should have just left it at $350. Sony's not gonna have a problem selling these anyway, but because of the market and because of the competition, it just makes it a little bit harder of a sale. But guys, that wraps up my video on the brand new Sony WH-1000XM5s. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.